Hey everybody, so a lot has happened with the relaunch of MultiVersus, and today we're going to go over all of it. The game did get data mined, like, immediately, so any chance of them encrypting their files and protecting everything from getting data mined, yeah, that didn't happen. So once again, we have a ton of stuff to talk about now after the relaunch. Quick disclaimer, any data mine information I talk about is just supposedly data mined information. It is entirely up to you whether or not you believe any of this. I'm not going to be showing proof of anything, no data mined images or anything like that. It's all just going to be hearsay and me talking about it. So total disclaimer, let's just make sure this video stays up. There's nothing in here that is actual data mined information. We're just talking about supposedly data mined stuff. Alright, so with that disclaimer out of the way, let's look at all the characters. I figure that's what people are here for. Let's just look at that first, and I'll go over that big image of all the character stuff. We're going to clean it up a bit, show the new characters that are being speculated about because of the data mine stuff, and yeah, we'll just go from there. Okay, so this is the image how it looked in the last video, and I'm just going to uncover some of the things blocking some of the leaked characters because the data mines have come out, and yeah, I've now talked about these characters. Boom, there you go. Okay, so Cartoon Network characters still covered up. We'll talk about that in a second. But the DC character, initially, I had just heard a character from DC that hadn't been leaked yet. I then later found out that character was, in fact, Aquaman, and with the data mines now, yup, Aquaman. Then the other two on there are Ruby and Daffy Duck. Yeah, I know, kind of shocking and everything. We'll go over all this stuff in detail as we go over the data mines and everything like that. But yes, those are the characters. As far as the Cartoon Network character goes, I'm still leaving them covered up because, as I've said before, it was never my leak. It was someone else's leak that was told to me that I trusted. But I think I'm going to actually just remove it from this when we clean everything up because, again, it's not my leak, and I really only want to trust my personal sources and stuff like that. And then also, it was not found in the data mine, so it may take a while, and of course, we'll get a character from Cartoon Network eventually, so it just seems like a moot point to leave it on here anyway, so yeah, we're going to clean it up and get rid of that in a second. And then people keep asking me about the characters in Limbo, the, Echo Fighters, the 60-plus character list, the suggested by random dev stuff. There is a live stream video I did, a year ago, where I went over in detail everything that I had heard before the game went on hiatus. I just showed my full hand, because the game was shutting down anyway, so who knows what was going to happen a year later. So I'm going to remove all that stuff on the side, because it's not really relevant anymore. It's kind of like the huge leaker actually stuff. It's just a lot of talk and everything like that. So I'm just going to get rid of it so that we're more focused on speculating what is more worth speculating, what seems like it's probably happening soon. But if you're interested in getting specific details about all the stuff over there on the side, go watch that Q&A live stream video that I did a while ago. This is what the thumbnail for it looked like. So if you're looking for it, look for that in my live streams, again, about a year ago. It's like a 3-hour-long video, so I'm sorry about that, but it goes into detail about all that stuff. Alright, so back to this image, and now we're just going to add in the data mine characters that we've now heard about after the relaunch, and we're going to get rid of all the excess. Okay, so here we go. This is what we're left with. New data mine characters, and some of these, of course, are data mine characters from before that are just still in there, but they are Pickle Rick, Wicked Witch of the West, Beetlejuice, Raven, Samurai Jack, Nubia, Aquaman, the Powerpuff Girls, Mr. Meeseeks, Marceline, Ruby, Daffy Duck, Gandalf, and Mojo Jojo. If you notice, some of the data mine characters on here have C0 numbers, just like they did before, and this is the new updated C0 list as it looks in the code, apparently, as soon as, relaunch happens. So this is what we're looking at for the C0 list. There are some missing spots here, as usual, so some of the characters that have also been data mined, such as Ruby, could be in those missing C0 spots, but so far, they don't have a name attached to them. And we have characters like Gandalf and Daffy that don't have C0 list numbers, but they have code names. Gandalf's is Crow, Daffy's is Seasons. Most likely referring to Gandalf as Stormcrow, a nickname he has from Lord of the Rings, and Daffy's Seasons probably a nickname because of the rabbit season, duck season thing. So Gandalf used to be called Crow in the old code as well. He was then changed to Unused 1, which made us think he was being cut from the game, but he is now back to being called Crow again in the code, which kind of points to the fact they might actually be bringing him back. So very excited about that personally, as I'm a big fan of Gandalf. The code also mentions Barad-dûr and Mordor, so hopefully that Lord of the Rings stuff that they cut before is in fact returning. That's what it looks like from the code. We had seen before that the tower in the background of the Trophy's Edge stage was changed back in the beta version of the game, and it's now changed back to looking more like Barad-dûr, Sauron's tower. So yeah, that we already noticed, but now looking at the code, Barad-dûr and Mordor are both mentioned in there, and Gandalf has his old code name. So very excited, very hopeful that Lord of the Rings stuff is coming back to this game. Now, if you look at that C0 list, one of the characters that isn't on there, but is on our list of Datamine characters, is Marceline. Marceline is confirmed to be a fighter being worked on. Slightly after voice lines involving references to her were found, her name was located in a data file named Character List. So she's not on the C0 list, but she is in a data file called Character List. The list excludes Agent Smith, Gizmo, Iron Giant, Jake, Marvin, Steven, and Taz, and we're unsure why that is. But that particular list does contain Marceline and Mr. Meeseeks, who we'll talk about in a bit. And here are some of the cosmetics that will probably happen with Marceline or be related to Marceline. Profile icons called They Were Mine, Jam the Nightosphere, Fangtastic, BFF, and a ring out called Marceline Bat. Marceline is also referenced by name by Rick several times. Rick asks if someone is a cool vampire or not and says Marcy. So in Rick's voice lines, there are voice lines of him specifically referencing Marceline as if she's a playable character. So yeah, Marceline probably coming in the future. All right, next let's talk about Ruby. There is a RWBY character universe in the Multiversus game data. And shortly after saying that, Asil said, there is also strings related to Ruby Rose. And then I posted this. Anyone notice a certain character hidden in the bottom right corner of my newest thumbnail? The only character on this thumbnail I didn't mention in the video at all, and who wasn't on the big image of speculated characters used to make the thumbnail. So yeah, if you look closely at my last thumbnail, I did hide Ruby down in the corner there. Shazam's on the other side, but that's literally just one of the characters that was talked about, like Blue Beetle was in my last video. I talked about them briefly in regards to the WB logo happening in the launch trailer video, but Ruby was the only one I didn't mention at all in the video, didn't have any character profile on that big image that I had before, but I did know about Ruby. I did know Ruby was coming. I actually thought Ruby might be a launch character, to be perfectly honest, but she didn't happen at launch. I thought that before Banana Guard and Jason took those alphabetical spots on that CSS that we saw in the PvE trailer or whatever it was. But anyway, yeah, I did know about Ruby, and just like I hid that rusty machete in past video, I hid Ruby down in the thumbnail of this video. Some eagle-eyed viewers did notice that and said something about, hey, you don't talk about Ruby at all in the video. Why is she on the thumbnail? Are you hitting at her? Blah, blah, blah. And yeah, I was. Pickle Rick also has some voice lines specifically related to Ruby. Stuff like dibs on taking down Little Miss Anime and things related to her scythe. That was a very old data mine that showed that a character with a scythe was coming to this game. Turns out it was Ruby. Also, apparently, red versus blue is actually referenced in Multiverses, so another line from Pickle Rick, supposedly. Pretty interesting because Rooster Teeth, of course, shut down. Ruby is from Rooster Teeth. WB owns Rooster Teeth, and there's this whole thing about, is WB selling it? All this controversy. I really can't weigh in too much on any of that, but yes, I heard about Ruby. It was after Rooster Teeth went down, and I've been continuing to hear about Ruby all the way up until basically launch here. So yes, Ruby, as far as I'm aware, is coming to the game. It is not old data or something like that. Ruby is happening. There you go. I heard Ruby. I've heard nothing to the contrary. If something with it changes, obviously I can't predict that, but as of right now, as far as I know, Ruby is coming to the game. It is not old cut data or something like that. Okay, and then next up, Aquaman. Aquaman is another character I did know about. Asul says Samurai Jack and Aquaman are coming to the relaunch of Multiverses at some point in the near future. And I responded, Aquaman was the mystery DC character. I did not know who it was at first, just a character from DC that had not leaked yet, but later got confirmation it was Aquaman. Supposedly, this was originally meant to be another movie tie-in promotion fighter, kind of like Black Adam was for that movie, but obviously missed the timing. So yep, Aquaman, another one I did know about. Actually, again, thought the relaunch would have both Ruby and Aquaman right at the start until I saw that alphabetical CSS which pointed to Banana Guard and Jason. So I do expect them to be fairly soon. It appears that Phil Lamar is doing the voice for Aquaman. He has voiced Aquaman and one of the Green Lanterns in the 2013 superhero fighting video game Injustice: Gods Among Us, and the 2017 sequel Injustice 2. So not the first time Phil Lamar has voiced Aquaman. Phil Lamar, of course, also voicing Samurai Jack, as he is famously the voice of Samurai Jack. Probably what he's most known for. Some upcoming skins for Aquaman. Matrix Code Aquaman, so a Matrix skin like everyone else. New 52 Aquaman, and Shark Hat Aquaman. And supposedly every character will receive a Shark Hat variant. And then here's some other cosmetic stuff that will probably happen for Aquaman. Some profile icons. Atlantean Finery, Scales of Atlantis, Waves of the Deep, Aqua Buddies. And some ring outs titled Aquaman and Aquaman Octopus. There's only one known perk right now for Aquaman, which is codenamed Tentacle. Okay, so we also got like this Datamine banner for Shark Week. It's not this image, but there is a banner image that has some other characters in those shark hats. So those shark hats coming for all the characters seems to be a big Happy Shark Week MVPs event that's happening. Considering Aquaman has a shark hat, it's likely he will probably show up in the game before Shark Week. So that gives us an idea of when we'll probably see Aquaman in the game. There are, of course, voice lines in the code for Aquaman, and if you listen to him, it does sound like he's sort of the hokey classic Aquaman and not like the Jason Momoa movie Aquaman. Though it's possible he could get a alternate costume for that, the same way Black Adam is more his classic DC incarnation, but has a The Rock movie Black Adam costume in this game. But no, the Aquaman we're getting sounds pretty cheesy, pretty classic Aquaman from the voice recorded lines. Asula is saying Daffy Duck is coming to Multiversus. A prototype character in the game files codenamed Seasons was found with animations that resemble Daffy Duck. And yeah, I'm not going to show those animations, but it's not Daffy's model. It was just put onto like Shaggy, but the stuff Shaggy's doing is like spot on for movements that Daffy Duck does from the cartoon. And if there's any doubt about this, I added... Yep, Daffy's another one that I heard, so that was another character that I heard about that was coming, so yeah, I can basically confirm Daffy Duck. Bugs Bunny has this skin right now, and of course this is Bugs and Daffy dancing together, both in this outfit, so I'm assuming Daffy will have an outfit to match Bugs's, but that's a total assumption. Okay, next up is the Powerpuff Girls, a character we basically knew was coming because of the Joker gameplay trailer that had the Powerpuff Girls as a character on Batman's computer when Joker hacked it. So yeah, in the files, Powerpuff Girls have a bunch of voice lines here. They do appear to be voiced by their original voice actresses, so that's exciting. And there's also voice lines for Samurai Jack, voice lines for Aquaman, like I said, so lots of voice lines in the files. I'm not going to be playing them here, but if you go hunting for them, they're out there. There are also supposedly 3 announcer packs coming for the Powerpuff Girls. So probably each of them with an announcer pack for themselves. So again, lots of recorded lines. And then some of the cosmetics that'll likely be associated with the Powerpuff Girls. Some profile icons titled Smooch, Smack, Wah, and She'll Still Kick Your Butt, Powerpuff Hotline, Bashful Bubbles, Adore, and the characters are C030R, C030G, C030B. Probably the RGB standing for red, green, blue, their 3 colors. And there's also supposedly a banner titled Heart. Also, Powerpuff Girls, Samurai Jack, and Aquaman all have happy birthday voice lines recorded. I know this stuff is kind of all over the place, but it was very confusing to gather all this data, so yeah, sorry about the sporadic nature of how I'm giving you this information. Alright, next up, Samurai Jack. And Samurai Jack has a whole moveset in the game's code. So I don't know if that means he'll be the next character after Agent Smith, but him having a whole moveset where I haven't seen that for any other character does bode well for him happening probably pretty soon or being pretty far along. Usually when a character had a moveset in the code, that meant they were next or very close to being next. I don't want to go over all of his attacks, but there you go. There's a lot to go over there. Obviously, it just sounds like he's going to be using his sword a lot, doing martial arts stuff. Cool stuff for Samurai Jack. And then some cosmetics likely associated with Samurai Jack. Profile icons, the Zinteris, Madness of Aku, Eyes of a Warrior, Extra Thick, Canine Loyalty, and a ring out titled Aku Fire. And then there's 2 banners, one titled Rain, the other titled Fire. The only known Samurai Jack taunt is the Samurai Shuffle. Samurai Jack will supposedly have 5 different skins, one of which is a t-shirt variant that almost all the characters have. What the other 4 are, we don't know yet. The perk code names for Samurai Jack are Multi-Slash, Counter, and Meditate on Death. So Samurai Jack is C026, and Aquaman is C029, and interestingly enough, the furthest along on the C0 list that we have is actually Mr. Meeseeks at C040. Mr. Meeseeks has C040 codename attached to the one and only default skin he has in the game. There are at least some new animations with this C040 Mr. Meeseeks character, and his last move makes him physically disappear. So this is just speculation, but Mr. Meeseeks might be a playable character in the future. He does have his own character data again and the C0 list, C040. It's also possible, though, he could just be on there because they have him as part of Rift mode, and maybe they just need to make him a placeholder character spot so that he would function the way they wanted him to in something like that as an enemy. So it's not really clear if he's going to be a playable character or just an enemy in Rift mode, but he does have data suggesting he could be a playable character. Considering what happened with Banana Guard and getting him as a playable character, it's not outside the realm of possibility that Mr. Meeseeks could be another joke character in the future, possibly them, once again, like with Banana Guard, reusing assets and things they had already worked on to make a full-fledged character. So very speculative. He does have attack animations and stuff like that, some things that point to him possibly being a playable character, but again, could just be to have him work as an enemy. Mr. Meeseeks does currently have his own mastery data, which really indicates he could be a fighter in the future. So yeah, get prepared for a potential Mr. Meeseeks joke character in the future. Again, possible he's just an enemy in like Rift mode or something. I haven't heard them working on Mr. Meeseeks myself, but yeah, the data suggests he could potentially be a fighter in the future. Samurai Jack references the Wicked Witch, so we already kind of knew about Wicked Witch. She is on the C0 list, but Samurai Jack actually references her, suggesting she probably will become a character eventually. There are some other characters that are kind of randomly mentioned, such as Shazam and Darkseid. Cyborg is mentioned as well. Aquaman mentions those characters, but those are DC characters, and the way Aquaman mentions them sounds kind of like he's just referring to them and not exactly like mentioning them as if they're another playable character. Jack references Wicked Witch in a way that sounds more like she's another playable character. There's also 2 unreleased banners that could be related to the Wicked Witch. One is called Witch's Cauldron, the other is Witch's Broom. So Pickle Rick is in a really confusing spot. I've heard conflicting things about him still being C020B or taken off that. But people seem to be saying that he has a bunch of voice lines in the data mine, and he does kind of refer to himself as a skin. So is he just a skin? Is he an Echo Fighter? We weren't really sure what they were going to do with that. Before the game shut down, it sounded like they were maybe going to do Echo Fighters. Potentially Pickle Rick was going to be our first one. But now maybe he's back to being a skin for Rick. He does have an announcer pack and stuff like that, so again, maybe he's a playable character, maybe he's someone they just did a lot of work on. It's really unclear, because Echo Fighters were kind of something they were probably doing to pad out the game instead of shutting it down, but they ended up choosing to shut down the game. So whether or not they still go through with Echo Fighters, or they take what they had for Pickle Rick and just make him a skin with a lot of voice lines, really unclear. I'm leaning more towards him being a skin rather than a full-fledged Echo Fighter now, so that's just what I'm thinking here, but he does have a lot of unique voice lines. And then another interesting character with a lot of voice lines is Mojo Jojo. Obviously, Mojo Jojo is on the Townsville stage and talks a lot. We already got confirmation of who his voice actor is and everything officially. But yeah, he's in the code here with even more lines. Specifically, he has lines for respawning and emotes and stuff like that, kind of suggesting he could be a playable character in the future. It's also possible, though, they were just future proofing, as in having the voice actor record lines in case they decide to make Mojo Jojo a character in the future. So they called him in to do the Townsville stage, had him record a bunch of stuff, and then did some lines for respawning, emotes, stuff like that, just in case they feel like making him a character in the future, so they don't have to call the voice actor back in. I don't know for sure on that one, but yeah, Mojo Jojo has some stuff pointing to the potential to be a playable character in the code. Dexter from Dexter's Lab, also mentioned by a few characters in their voice lines. The Powerpuff Girls, I think, talk about him and stuff like that, demand to know where he is. We had the Dexter's Lab stage have the computer kind of put that code there that sounded like it was like, when's Dexter going to get here? You know, ask for Dexter, ask Player First Games to add Dexter. He's not here, but ask for him. And of course, in the launch trailer, we had Dexter's glasses and his gloves seen as one of those like hints. Again, could just be for his stage, but maybe he's a character they're making in the future, something like that. So far, not much data in the code for that, but a little bit of voice lines mentioning him. So a little bit more stuff to kind of go with if you're hoping for Dexter. That they do seem to be leaning in the direction of probably eventually working on Dexter, putting Dexter in the game. Speaking of interesting references in characters' dialogue or recorded voice lines, Morty has a voice line that says Kamehameha, so obviously a reference to Goku from Dragon Ball Z. I don't think that means Goku's getting in the game anytime soon. I think that was probably just like a joke Morty recorded line. But yeah, Kamehameha actually recorded in the code for the game, so yeah, slight nod to Goku there if you're hoping for Goku in the game. Okay, so that's everything for character stuff in the data mines. Once again, let's look at this image here. We see all the new data mine characters that I added down at the bottom there. I've added the C0 numbers to those characters. I do not think the C0 number has anything to do with when a character will get in, and even in Mr. Meeseeks' case, I'm not even sure if a C0 number means a character is definitely happening. I do believe characters like Daffy Duck, Gandalf, or Marceline, or Ruby could actually happen before some of the C0 characters. Obviously, that's already happened. In the old data mine, we had C0 list characters that we didn't get, yet we got stuff like Jason and Agent Smith before that. So, yeah, I don't think the C0 numbers mean the characters are happening in that order or even before characters that don't have them, necessarily. So we'll just have to wait on that. But, yeah, here is our now character image for speculating characters if you're following along with me. Again, there's the bigger image, and if you want to watch that old live stream that I did to find out more about those characters, you can go ahead and do that, but I'm going to try to focus down on just the newer information, newer stuff, as there's so many characters here. It's going to take a while for them to get through all these, so I think going too wild with speculation and out of bounds here is going to get us off focus for who we'll probably actually be getting sometime soon. All right, so next let's move on to stages from the Datamine. So of course we know the WB Water Tower stage is happening. It was in the relaunch trailer, but someone actually got this stage randomly in rotation, posted about it over on Twitter. So I don't consider this a Datamine or a leak. This is just something that happened to the game for this person. They saw the WB Water Tower stage for a second. As you can see from the image, it looks like you can actually go in the WB Water Tower. It opens up. There's Superman in there, and I see a map of the world there, probably a reference to Yakko talking about all the different places in the world. And then some data mines about the Water Tower stage. It appears to have 3 variants in the code. And the data mines revealed some images of the Teen Titans Tower stage, which does appear to be that you fight inside the tower, kind of like where Wonder Woman was in the relaunch trailer. It does look like Superman and Jake are watching TV in the background here, kind of a strange detail. But basically everything from the relaunch trailer is here. Even the Green Lantern is on the shelf there. And you can see like the water and the hive building out in the distance from the windows. Apparently, the Candy Kingdom from Adventure Time is getting a stage in Multiverses. It appears to be fairly far along because in the data mines, some NPCs of Candy Kingdom citizens were found. Lots of different ones like donuts and marshmallows and stuff. And also Peppermint Butler, apparently modeled to be on that stage. There is an M0 list for stages. M07 is Water Tower, M012 Teen Titans Titans Tower, M018 Candy Kingdom, M019 is called Mouse Wheel, probably Pinky and the Brain Acme Labs, which we actually saw in the background of the WB Water Tower stage in the relaunch trailer. There's a M020 stage called Cat Concerto, which is probably a Tom and Jerry stage, maybe a giant piano. M021, Looney Tunes Mesas, so like the desert from like the Roadrunner Coyote Looney Tunes, I'm assuming. And then M022, Friday the 13th, The Lake. So yeah, potentially Camp Crystal Lake from the Friday the 13th series as a Jason stage, pretty cool. And then a stage called Time Split, Back to the Past. Now, as much as I'd like Back to the Past to be Angry Video Game Nerd bringing us back to the past, or even Back to the Future going back to the past, it is almost certainly some sort of Samurai Jack stage, probably based off of his opening theme song, which has Back to the Past in it. There's also a stage M014 called Midnight Showing, possibly a Gremlin stage in like a movie theater is the guess. If you look closely at the Jason reveal trailer, when Finn and Velma and Gizmo pop out of this door, if you look in the background, it does kind of look like they're in a movie theater before Jason attacks them, so that could be the stage, possibly a movie theater, which of course would fit Gremlins very well. There's that whole classic scene of the Gremlins watching Snow White. And as I said, Mordor and Barad-dûr are mentioned in the game file, so possibly a Mordor stage, possibly Barad-dûr happening in some form, maybe just on the background of Trophy's Edge. Okay, and then moving on past stages, the Multiversus website finally got updated and has, you know, the newest characters like Banana Guard and Jason and Joker on there. There's some new variants on the website, a blue-dressed Arya, a kind of like gladiator looking LeBron James, and Rick in his like mech suit. Speaking of costumes, Agent Smith only has a few skins right now. A Shark Week Shark Hat kind of skin, one of those cartoony, thick outline kind of cel-shaded skins, and a Matrix skin, of course. So he basically only has the skins that all the other characters have. We know of one of Agent Smith's taunts, which is a bunch of spoons floating around him that bend. So again, a reference to the Matrix, obviously, with the bending spoons. We mentioned how every character is getting a Shark Week Shark Hat, but a lot of characters are also getting a Pride Month event skin. So Pride t-shirt skins are happening for Garnet, Batman, Wonder Woman, Harley Quinn, Bugs Bunny, Velma, and Superman. There are strings in the code for skins that are titled DC Bombshell Wonder Woman, Earth Zero Harley Quinn, X-Icon Agent Morty, Golfer Marvin the Martian, Anti-Life Superman, Historical Fiction Steven, Icon Director Sanchez, Knights Must Fall Bugs Bunny. There is an animated series Joker skin, a Rick and Two Crows skin, Bugs Bunny suit and hat, where that's the one that I showed before that he's close to looking like Daffy Duck. I think that's actually already in the game. And Cyberpunk Rick. There's a Seaside Tom and Jerry and a Swimsuit Velma. And apparently there's also a large gap in the numbers for variants, so there's probably a bunch of other ones we haven't seen or haven't heard from these data mines. There's Ancient Black Adam, Construction Gremlin, Armored Superman, Black Suit Superman, and Anti-Life Superman. I think I mentioned that one already. There's Gangster Taz, kind of like those old 90s Looney Tunes t-shirts everybody had where they were like gangster characters. And a Cyberpunk Morty to fit with Cyberpunk Rick. There's a Cape and Crown Garnet skin, Buddy's Book Garnet, Musical Theater Garnet, and a Randy Butternubs Jake. That's when they're like fancy, when they go to that, it's like a mystery house party thing. There's a Mystery Inc. Shaggy, which looks like this costume. Also a Mystery Inc. Velma, so these costumes for Mystery Inc. Garnet shapeshifted as Steven, Amethyst shapeshifted as Steven, Pearl shapeshifted as Steven. So skins for Steven as those characters. Farmer Steven, Pink Diamond Steven, Historical Fiction Steven, and again, Mystery Inc. Velma. They're in these kind of costumes. There's a Ninja Aria, a Bruce Wayne costume where Bruce Wayne has like a coat over his shoulders, Hoodie LeBron, so LeBron in like a gray hooded sweatshirt, and Prince Hotbod Finn, again from the same episode that the Jake variant is from, where they're in that like mystery, murder mystery house episode. There's a few other costumes that I've seen images of that I think are data mined and not out yet. There's like a Beach Superman, a Cyberpunk Tom and Jerry. Rain Dog has one where he has like a floating toast and a monocle. There's a short-haired Harley Quinn, short-haired Arya, and Arya in like a beach outfit, I think, with a foam sword. I think we actually saw that one in one of their previews before the game launched. I didn't see this myself, but there's apparently a mission that says win 3 games as a guest fighter. Jason's probably the only guest we have right now. It's the only guest I've heard about, but that could, kind of point towards maybe more guest characters, more third-party characters, whatever that's considered for this game. Could be getting into Multiverses in the future if they have a mission titled win 3 games as a guest fighter. Speaking of Jason, he does have a face under the mask that can be seen with the data mines. And there was this interesting glitch someone got where Harley Quinn has a Jason mask on. It was just a glitch, but man, that would make a great costume. Maybe give a bunch of characters a Jason mask as costumes. It'd be an easy one. All right, well, that's all the speculation leak stuff, all the data mine stuff. I was going to go over some other things, like some of the complaints people have about this game, some of the oddities in there, some changes I'd like to make, some changes I've heard other people want to do, and this whole Reddit thread that they're putting together that they're kind of sending over to Player First Games, some of which has been listened to. Hopefully, a lot of the complaints and a lot of things people want changed will get changed. I was going to go over all that stuff, but I feel like this video is probably long enough and people are really here for the speculation stuff, so I'll just leave it here. Maybe I'll make a video in the future going over some of the stuff I'd like to see changed about the games, because people aren't exactly super thrilled with how this game returned. Honestly, I feel that too. I get it. I'm not going to rant about it here. Not going to go over it too much. Maybe I'll do it in a other video. But yeah, they had a whole year off. We were hoping for a slam dunk here, and they came back, and there's some very questionable choices about the way the currency works, about the way the game plays, just lots of stuff. So I'll probably go over that in a separate video. This video is just going to be the speculative stuff. All right, so let's end on this character screen once again. There you go. There's all the characters that we have now. Leaked characters, data mine characters, characters that have been hinted at in the relaunch trailer. Yeah, so what do you think of all this? Are you excited for any of these characters? Are you thinking that you know who's going to be next? Do you think it's going to be like Samurai Jack next? Do you think it's going to be Powerpuff Girls next? Aquaman next? We know Aquaman should probably be here before the Shark Week event to get that shark hat. So who do you think is going to be next? What do you think about all this data mine stuff? Are you surprised by anybody? I'm sure a lot of people are really surprised by Ruby happening, but yep, I heard her, and I don't think it's old cut date or anything. I'm pretty sure she's happening. So if you have any thoughts or comments about any of the stuff we talked about in this video, feel free to leave them below.
Remember to like the video, leave a comment in the section below, and subscribe to Papa Gino's
Twitter, Patreon, Discord, Twitch.